The Star Wars universe is a place ruled by good and evil, heroes and villains, the light side and the dark. But this galaxy is also governed by regular old laws. Whether they are the sacred texts of the Jedi or the ways of the Sith, every race and culture have their own set of rules that they must abide by. With that in mind then, I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 crazy in-universe rules that Star Wars characters follow. Number 10, the Wookiee's life debt. If a person's life is owed to another, they can pledge to protect their savior for the rest of their life. This custom, known as a life debt, is common amongst many cultures in the Star Wars universe. I mean, Jar Jar Binks owed a life debt to Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi after they rescued him in The Phantom Menace, and similarly, Chewbacca vowed to protect Han Solo after he came to the Wookiees' aid. As understandable as this decree may be, Wookiees in particular take it to a radical extreme. The hairy creatures from Kashyyyk are so willing to honor the custom that it's not rare for the recipient of the life debt to turn the Wookiee into a slave. Even if the Wookiee is able to fight back or flee from their so-called messiah, the fuzzball won't even try, since its devotion to the life debt is too strong to break. And this is quite sadly ironic, as can be observed in Solo: A Star Wars Story and Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic, as one of the more common reasons that Wookiees make life debts in the first place is because they're freed from slavery. Number 9, Stormtroopers don't have names. To ensure the Stormtroopers are of the highest caliber, each soldier goes through painstaking reconditioning during their induction into the Empire. Not only are they trained physically, but mentally. They are broken down on a psychological level to ensure that they are unequivocally obedient to their superiors, no matter how unreasonable their requests might be, which is almost always very, very unreasonable. Because the original Stormtroopers were clones who aged at double speed, there was little time for a personality to develop. Since each member didn't have any real personal traits to separate them from one another, it makes sense why they were designated by operating numbers rather than names. When the First Order abandoned the cloning program and hired or forced regular soldiers to serve as Stormtroopers, the higher-ups continue to refer to the cadets by these operating numbers. By dehumanizing them like this, the First Order believed that their cadets would function more mechanically, making them follow orders unconditionally. Hell, some Stormtroopers were taken into the First Order at such an early age that many of them have forgotten their name, if they ever even had one to begin with. Number 8, Jedi can kill, but never out of revenge. For generations, the Jedi have depicted themselves as peaceful monks. In the wise words of Mace Windu, we're keepers of the peace, not soldiers. However, this philosophy is a big fat lie, since Jedi do kill all the time. I mean, hell, Mace Windu himself didn't look particularly peaceful when he lopped off Jango's head in Episode 2. Since Force wielders then are often in the thick of battle, one can only imagine how many lives they've taken. But according to the Jedi teachings, they are strictly forbidden to kill out of revenge. As Anakin Skywalker proved, vengeance can easily lead one to the dark side. While Anakin may have been arrogant and childish in his youth, he was still mostly guided by morals. But when his mother was enslaved and killed by Tusken Raiders, he became consumed by revenge, resulting in him slaughtering the entire tribe. This was the first time Anakin tapped into the dark side, and is often regarded as his first real step to becoming Darth Vader. Number 7, Imperials can't hurt people without reason. As hard as it is to believe, members of the Empire are, on paper anyway, forbidden from harming others unprovoked. To put it another way, the guys who blew up Alderaan are not supposed to hurt anybody. Because the Emperor pretends that he has the people's best interests at heart, he can't just have his subjects shoving blasters in front of citizens' faces with no rhyme or reason. So, he often just invents a reason, a really flimsy reason. Unless you've never seen a Star Wars movie though, you should probably be well aware that every Empire employee under the sun has failed to abide by this rule. For as long as the Empire has existed, Stormtroopers have imprisoned, tortured, and shot anyone who had the misfortune of crossing their path. I mean, just because Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru found themselves in the wrong place at the wrong time, Stormtroopers had them burnt to a crisp, through no fault of their own. Because the Empire is passionately prejudiced against aliens as well, Stormtroopers are known for being more ruthless with non-humans, jailing and killing them for the most minor of crimes. Despite the fact that it's illegal for Imperials to harm civilians, history has proven that this law only exists on paper, not in practice. Number 6, female Stormtroopers must train harder. Even though several Imperial officers have appeared throughout Star Wars, all the Stormtroopers initially were suggested to be male. However, there is no law restricting women from donning the white helmet and armor. Although they don't appear in the original trilogy, George Lucas did confirm that female Stormtroopers were stationed on the Death Star and other Empire-controlled units. Because the female enlisted cadets are trained separately though, you would think that this is the main reason we rarely see them. But there is another factor why women are rarely spotted marching through Star Destroyers and Empire-seized stations. And that's because the Empire fought forced women to work much harder physically to match the male trainees. Because of this, one can only imagine the grueling experience that Captain Phasma must have endured to work her way up the ranks to become the head stormtrooper. Number 5. Bribes in the Empire are a no-no. The Empire is a profoundly immoral dictatorship, populated by employees which will commit any atrocity to further their agenda. Since its creation, these fascists have enslaved millions of blown-up planets and obliterated entire star systems. Despite the boundless evil they've committed, though, there is one law which the Empire takes very, very seriously, and that's bribery. Even though payoffs are obviously illegal in real life as well, it's baffling why this is the one crime that causes Imperials to suddenly take the moral high ground. After all, wouldn't accepting bribes be a really effective tactic to learn crucial information to smoke out vigilantes, say? I mean, will Darth Vader really care if a scout trooper is bribed a few space credits if he learns the location of a rebel base? Considering the Empire has allied with scum like the Hutts and countless bounty hunters, it's genuinely bewildering that they act holier than thou when it comes to accepting a few kickbacks. I mean, I'm sure the paperwork for building 3 Death Stars wasn't legit, and a few palms were greased to get those battle stations up and running, right? Number 4, a laugh a day keeps the Jabba away. Jabba the Hutt loves nothing more than to be surrounded by all manner of little freaks. His den is a hive of scum and villainy, and as you might expect from a demented crime boss, he runs a pretty tight and tough ship. He has all manner of rules that his subordinates have to abide by in order to win his respect, but none of his subjects live under quite as much fear as one salacious B. Crumb. Now, while you might not know this little rat by his real name, you will remember him from Return of the Jedi, where he essentially served as Jabba's hype man and jester. While that's not the worst job in the world to have, Crumb doesn't exactly perform it under ideal conditions. See, in a twisted way, Jabba saved Crumb from death. However, it wasn't out the goodness of his heart. Instead, Crumb lives under a tight contract whereby he has to justify his life by making Jabba laugh at least one time per day. And if he misses the mark, then, well, Jabba will just off him. So, Crumb existed under this rule for a good while, only to end up dead in the end anyway. Number 3, Sith must respect each other, but can kill one another. As a student to a Sith Lord, one is expected to carry out every order without question or hesitation. Any form of defiance will be met with a punishment of the highest order, so as a result, an apprentice should be utterly obedient to their superior. However, the only way for an apprentice to complete their training as a Sith is to kill their master. Even though Sith Lords spend years or decades training their student, they know it's only a matter of time before the apprentice turns on them. In fact, Darth Vader has battled the Emperor in the comics, books, and video games on many occasions in a vain attempt to usurp his master's throne. If the apprentice wishes to challenge their mentor, they're expected to take part in a lightsaber duel. But since the Sith are, well, the Sith, they often rely on less direct methods to dispose of their rival. Sadly, Darth Plagueis learned this the hard way when Darth Sidious murdered him in his sleep. What makes the Sith's hypocritical code of honor more ridiculous, though, is how the Darksiders would probably have succeeded at destroying the Jedi Order eons ago if they weren't so busy trying to kill each other. Number 2, some Mandalorians can't show their face. Of the multiple factions of the Mandalorians, the most well-known is the Children of the Watch. Because these bounty hunters are not permitted to show their faces, the other tribes regard the Watch as a religious cult. Some Children of the Watch take this rule so seriously, in fact, that they won't remove their helmet while eating alone or even sleeping. If a member shows their face to another person, they will be disowned by the entire tribe. Now, the lead character in The Mandalorian, Din Djarin, was so immersed in the Watch's way of life that he never even questioned his comrades, nor did he realize that he was being raised by zealots. Until Bo-Katan set him straight, he had no idea that Mandos outside the Watch could whip their helmet off whenever they wanted. The divide between the Watch and the other tribes eventually led to a culture war, though, which concluded with Din Djarin's people locating to another planet. This turned out to be a blessing in disguise, as the Watch were off-world when Mandalore was decimated during the Night of 1,000 Tears. Ironically, the Children of the Watch were only spared because they were too stubborn to change. Number 1, Jedi cannot have attachments. To become a Jedi, being able to wield the Force isn't enough. If one is truly sincere about being inducted into the Order, they must give themselves to the light side completely. These monk-like warriors are expected to give up leisure, non-practical possessions, and family, all in the name of living up to being a Jedi. Likewise, Jedi are not allowed to give in to negative emotions such as greed, envy, or hate, since such feelings can lead to the dark side. However, Jedi are also expected to never embrace love physically or mentally. If a Jedi is caught having a relationship with another, they will be excommunicated from the Order immediately. Even though Anakin Skywalker was fully aware of this, he was unable to control his feelings for Padme Amidala, and so married her in secret. At first, one might assume that this rule is put in place to ensure Jedi weren't impaired by distractions, but history in this world has proven that love is the most powerful as well as the most dangerous of all emotions. After all, it was not hate that brought about the collapse of the Republic and the Jedi Order, but love. well, love and fear. When Anakin had a vision that he would lose Padme, he vowed to do anything that would save her, including turning to the dark side. Had Anakin never experienced mutual love, it could have prevented the Empire from ever taking over the galaxy in the first place, at least on paper. So that's our list. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. What do you think about these rules? How many of them did you know? How many of them didn't you know? And are there any interesting ones I missed off here? While you're down there as well, could you please give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to What Culture Star Wars for more lists like this on the regular. Even if you don't though, I've been Josh. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.